Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Oswin and Lord Night. Today I've pulled a topic out about indefinite spiritual places. It's dealing more with switching spiritual paths and what happens when you're in that transition period. And can you switch from more than one spiritual path to more than one spiritual path? And how does that affect you mentally?
So you mean like going from Christian to pagan, or from pagan to Muslim, or
Yes.
or from Christianity to Muslim and so forth? I mean, is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. I can see where there would be a problem with cherry picking.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I see the problem in the pagan community. A lot of people want to sit there and talk about karma, right?
Right.
But when they talk about karma, the majority of the times they're kind of like, okay, yeah, I believe in karma and blah, 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 but I don't believe it follows you from one lifetime to another. I think that's cherry picking. You're only cherry picking the parts you want. This is the same argument we hear that a lot of pagans use against Christians and a lot of gay people. You know, you're just cherry picking certain things to make us look bad, or you're cherry picking just certain things that only support your view.
Okay, so you're basically talking about just taking stuff here and there from other places. I'm talking about a full-on switch.
What I'm saying is during that switch, during that downtime, in that in-between places, I can see where this could happen.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm sitting back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch from pagan to Christianity. Well,
Right.
There are some fundamental differences between the two religions.
Most definitely, yes.
I can see where in the world you're going to have some cherry picking going on while converting, because you don't want to let go of some of your old beliefs, but you want to accept some of these new ones, and that these two ideas might conflict with one another. So unless you're doing this and you're literally doing a clean break,
Which is hard to do.
it is hard to do. It's hard to change.
Especially depending on how long you've been involved in whatever path you're leaving.
I mean, imagine somebody leaving Mormonism, right? The Mormons are very strict, and the way they raise their kids and stuff like that, that I can see where there would be a lot of psychological problems trying to convert. There are going to be certain things you're going to want to hold on to that the other religions tells you to let go, and vice versa.
Right, because they are very family oriented, more so than a lot of other
Right.
religious organizations, and a lot of Mormons are raised that way.
Right.
So I can see that that'd be pretty difficult to leave.
Exactly, because you don't know nothing else. You were raised this way. I can see where in the world this could potentially actually cause this cherry picking, to cause this stuff to where in the world the religion might get a little muddled for a little while until you finish converting completely over and change all your thoughts. But it's awful hard to change certain ideals, certain ideas that you have, and certain concepts.
So do you have any advice on how to handle that?
Really, it takes time. I'm sorry, to do it like a clean break, I'd almost have to say, depending on what religion you're coming out is, you might have to 100% throw yourself into a different religion. You know, if I wanted to become Christian, I would probably have to do that. I would probably have to set myself into a situation to where I'm not exposed to anything other ideas but Christianity until the conversion's done. Which ain't going to do nothing but make me annoying.
True.
Because I mean, people who do this, that's it. That's all they talk about all day. You know, we've all seen those people.
Well, what about people who, and I hate to put it this way, but because it sounds so derogatory, but what about people who flip-flop? Where it's like a constant change. where they're going through, and I don't mean it bad. I just mean they haven't found what fits them yet.
Right. There are people out there that will, well, for 1 month they're Buddhist. Next month they're Christian. Next month they're Catholic. Next month they're Muslim. Next month,
right, and but like I said, I don't mean that derogatory. I just mean well, I mean, I know there are some people who are like that. They're just like, oh well, I'm just going to try everything. But the people who are honestly seeking something, but just haven't found it yet, and so, I'm talking, these are people who probably spend a couple of months digging into like a particular path.
Well, I mean, here's my question.
And then decide it's not for me, and so they move to something else.
Or, I mean, is it the lack of attention span that we have this now? This used to not be a problem. People pretty young would pick their belief system and stick with it. This jumping around has become more, to me, a more modern problem. Does that make sense?
But yes, but I'm back to, what about those people who are honestly going through this, trying to find what fits them best?
Well, I mean, until they go through a mile and find something, and if they're honestly doing this, it might take some time to find something you believe in, if you find anything at all.
And so what do you suggest? I mean, do these people just never have anything to hold on to? Do they?
Well, I'm not going to say
do
that.
Do they take what's familiar to them from whatever they've already studied?
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, just like any other religion, if people would sit down and start to write, today I believe, and don't worry about what religion or anything first. It's kind of like what we used to tell people on how to buy computers when they first, back in the 90s and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And we had all these people that are buying computers and they don't know what in the world they're doing. And having to sit there and explain to them, okay, first of all, you're going to have to find the software you want to run. Look at the minimum and maximum requirements, right? Then buy a computer accordingly. I'm thinking this is the same way as these people finding religion. First of all, you have to establish what it is that you believe in. And that's where a lot of these people keep on jumping around. The problem's not the religion. The problem is these people ain't sat down and go, today I believe in this. They're not sitting down going, well, do I believe in reincarnation? Do I believe it's only a one-shot deal? Until you can answer those questions, how are you going to find a religion?
So basically, if you're on a path where you are seeking a particular spiritual path to follow,
right?
If this is your journey, you're suggesting, first and foremost, write down what you think you believe in.
Right. And here's what everybody thinks. Once you write that down, it does sort of cement it, but it also gives you a chance to go back the next day and start at the top of the page and go, today I believe in. Because in the process of writing that, I think you're going to start realizing what parts you don't agree with. And if you start to eliminate too many things that you don't believe in, you have to start to re-examine the idea in and of itself.
Okay. Yeah, I think
an example would be, okay, I believe in reincarnation. Why do I believe in reincarnation? Because I see some people remembering what they did, some people that have skills and stuff like this. I can find things to justify this.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean it's a real justification. It's just in my mind, this is what justifies it. And I can use that witch logic to prove this. But if you don't believe in it, there's nothing I can say to make you believe in it.
Right, but it will help if someone is writing that down.
Right. My point there is, if you start to believe, okay, well, if you believe in reincarnation, do you believe that you have to switch from gender to gender? Do you have to, we've talked about reincarnation cycles and stuff like this. When you start taking them concepts away from the main concepts, that concept starts to fall apart.
Mm.
And I think when you're writing them out, if you're sitting there going, okay, yeah, I believe in karma. All right. Is it consistent? Is it not consistent? Do you believe that it is consistent or is it not consistent? Is it only used for big bad stuff?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but you see what I'm saying? And once you start finding those things and you start to realize, and then you go back and you read about karma and you start realizing what your idea of karma is and what the real idea of karma is completely separate. And you're like, well, I actually don't believe in karma.
Well, I think if you're journaling these ideas, I think it also helps you keep your mental capacity organized so that it's not so scatterbrained. And I think that's a good place to start because it's going to help you in the long run decide what it is you do actually believe.
Exactly.
Because I don't think you should I think you should not only journal what you think you believe in, but what you don't believe in.
But my point there is when you're doing that, if you sit there and you start off with a concept, I don't care what the concept is, and you start saying, well, I believe in this concept, but I don't believe it where it applies to here or here or here or here or here.
Right.
Yeah, when you start going through that process that this is what you believe, you start to realize, well, I don't actually believe in this. I just believe in this part. Why?
Right. And if by believing in this part, it negates my disbelief.
Right.
Then I actually believe in it.
Right. I mean, because again,
and I need to accept it for what it is.
Right. Because we're back to this. You got to be careful about the cherry picking here. All right. Just because an idea has some bad concepts to it that you don't necessarily like doesn't necessarily mean this is bad or evil. It might just be a counterbalance to the whole entire concept.
Good point.
And again, we're back to this cherry picking. I'm sorry, when you're dealing with a concept that if you've eliminated everything except for the whole, we get reborn, okay, that you just believe in.
Do you really believe in that?
Right. Do you actually believe in that?
Well, like with reincarnation, if you're just cherry picking, or karma, better yet, karma, if you're just cherry picking, okay, well, it only applies to this, and this other stuff it's not what I believe, then do you really believe in karma?
Right. See, because
you haven't accepted that whole concept of what karma actually is.
Exactly. You see, and even then, people even in their own religion do not always 100% agree with everybody. Not everybody's going to agree with you 100% of the time.
Well, no, and that's part of the beauty of being a free thinker.
Right. But then again, when somebody comes up with a new idea and you're just dismissing it out of hand because, well, it's Bob.
Right.
It is just.
He don't know what he's talking about.
He doesn't know what in the world he's talking about. It's just as bad.
Right.
Because in craft specifically, we're taught to learn other religions. I mean,
Right.
Lord Night was such a stickler about this to the point to where he wanted us to learn the how to commit last rites to someone who's Catholic, just in case there wasn't another Catholic priest around to where in the world we could do it for them if we had to.
Right.
That's
that's providing that the family agreed to it. I mean,
right. Well, the idea here is that we're here for the spiritual needs of the world, not just our community.
Right. Don't take that as we're out to save everybody, because that is not the case.
No,
we are here. We are here for spiritual needs of everyone.
Right. I'm going to give a spiritual advice to someone who's Christian who comes up and asks for it, just as fast as I am one of my coven members.
Oh, absolutely.
Us learning these rites of other ones this just goes on to show that, in most of the pagan community, we don't have a problem with other religions. We don't have a problem stepping on their toes if we have to.
I don't know that I'd say stepping on toes, but delving into their territory.
Yeah, exactly. We have no fear about this. yeah, I will sit down and pray with someone who's a Southern Baptist if that's what they ask me to do.
Right.
Because at that time, my thought is not on me, it's on their spiritual needs.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
And my hope would be that other religious people, if something happened to me, would treat me with the same respect. Hey, yeah, I know enough about his religion. Let's do the best we can here under the circumstances.
Right. I'm not going to be able to do everything for you, but I know enough I can help.
I can muddle through it, So, yeah, I mean, so you have that soldier on foreign land who dies. Do they get buried according to the customs of where they're at and who buries them? Like all these soldiers that we sent over to Afghanistan, if any of them died there, were they given a Muslim funeral?
Good question. Probably not.
Probably not, because, but again, where we would be pagan, we would probably give them a pagan funeral going, yeah, we gave them a death rites that we knew what to do according to our culture.
Right. Well, I think in something like that, if you don't know that person's culture or spiritual path or whatever, you're going to do what you know.
Right. You do the best you can. And I think
it's still done out of a place of respect. It may not be their spiritual path, but it's still done out of respect.
Because this whole entire conversation only makes me think of Farscape, where I think they thought Crichton was dead. And what's his name? The little Napoleon character.
Oh,
the Emperor.
I can't remember his name, but yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I'm going to do the death rites. And there's this whole entire scene of him doing the death rites. And he's like, no, never mind. You can't go to my places. They're not good enough for you.
Oh, no. That's funny.
It's funny, but that's where some of these religious people believe that you weren't one of us and we're not going to do that.
Right.
Where this thought is that, even though you're not part of our religion and stuff, we're going to honor you by doing these rites.
Right.
This isn't done to thumb a nose up at you or get a one up or anything. We're literally thinking that we're doing something to save the soul here.
Right.
Allow it to move on so it can reincarnate. It's an interesting question that, this one question has spawned this much of a conversation.
I know, right? You would have thought that this would have just been a simple answer, a simple yes or no, but
it's not.
It turns out it's not.
It's not. I mean, like I said, if somebody's switching and purposely switching, I think they're going to make some conscious choices there to try to ignore certain old concepts. But I can see where it would be hard not to wind up cherry picking or mixing the two concepts together.
Right. I think there's always going to be that cherry picking. There's always going to be that combining or mixing of concepts and beliefs to some extent. Just be careful which ones and how you're cherry picking and how you're combining them, because some of those beliefs are very specific.
Exactly. You need to read it all, the whole entire concept, before saying you believe it or not. I still think it's a good idea for everybody, not just us, but everybody, to sit down and to start with, today I believe, and start writing what they believe. And once they realize what in the world you believe, then you might be able to find a religion that best suits it.
Right. Even then you might have to make some compromises, but you have a better chance of finding something that fits you.
Right. Well, and again, you still got to remember, even inside religions, you get, 10 Southern Baptist deacons together and ask them all for an opinion on a on a passage in the Bible, you're going to get 50 different answers.
Exactly.
Out of 10 people.
Exactly.
Because I've heard them conversations. I've been around for that. So again, you still have this in there too. There is a lot of wiggle room in a lot of these religions.
Right.
Just be careful, you might get into arguments with people, but it happens.
It does. It does. Just be prepared for that.
Anything else?
Oh, I believe that's it.
All right. Yay. I'm out of coffee then.
All right. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning.